Hello, everybody. Happy to see all of you people here today. We are live, and I'm testing out some new technology. We are currently streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. TikTok's being weird, so we're only on the 4 today, not the 5. So I am super excited to see everybody. We're trying something new, which I am stoked about. So if you have questions, haha, I gotta figure out how I see them. It's part of the reason why I'm testing this out today. There we go. There we go. So if you're here, if you are watching, do me a favor, drop in the chat, say hello, tell me where you're from. And I'm going to just kind of sit and ramble for a little while, but I do want to get an opportunity to help you folks out. And if you've never seen me before, my name is Brenda Neckbottle. I joke about being a recovering human resource professional, and I love it. I've been doing this now for a long time. And what I do now is I actually help people like yourself deal with difficult people problems in the workplace. And believe it or not, the very same things that you're dealing with in the workplace are probably the same things that you're dealing with at home too. So I am here if you have a question regarding difficult people. I am more than happy to jump in. Go ahead and throw your question down in the chat, and we're gonna shake all of the kinks out of this system today. So I'm pretty excited to be here. I'm just sitting here checking to make sure that all my stuff is streaming. Yep, there we go. Loving it. So I'm going to keep my stuff alive. And if you have questions, I want to hear them. So just a little bit more about me. I am, like I said, I'm a human resource pro. I've been doing this for quite some time. I have been featured in some pretty major publications, such as like Forbes. I used to write for Entrepreneur magazine. Did that for a little bit. And I've also been on like US News and World Reports. I've been featured in Fast Company. So I've been able to share my experience for quite a while, which has been pretty awesome, pretty amazing. There we go. Yay, Facebook's working. I get excited when things work. So I'm loving where technology is taking us these days. And I'm just checking all the channels to make sure that everything is working beautifully. I know, so I'm kind of rambling right now, but I promise you I'm going to get a little bit more intentional once I check everything, and life looks just absolutely amazing. I just got done writing a book. Actually, it's out now. I'm very excited about it. It is my 3rd best-selling book. I wrote it with a friend of mine who I refer to as my business partner. And, Instagram is not coming up. That little barking that you hear in the background, that would be my director of security. But the book is actually called Mission Ready, Building High-Performing Teams from the Battlefield to the Boardroom. I wrote it with a gentleman by the name of William Branham, who is on here. And he's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL. Just a super amazing human being. Absolutely adore him. He's like family. He's been like a brother. Oh yay, YouTube is working. Sweet. All right, we got some good stuff, Sharon. All right, so Instagram is the one that's wonky, so we gotta figure that one out. And then whenever TikTok gets over itself, then I think we'll be able to do it. Okay, so gotta figure this Instagram thing out. All right, well that's for later. So what are some of the questions that I get? So I get a lot of really interesting questions when it comes to dealing with difficult people. One of the things that I get the most, believe it or not, is actually it's like, how do you deal with a narcissist and it just happens to be the CEO? Like, I teach several course. I get contracted to teach courses online, both privately and through public companies. And every time I teach the narcissist course, that's exactly what I get. I get that question every time. So, um, yeah, man, narcissists are terrible to deal with. They're tough, and one of the reasons why they're so difficult is that they're afraid to be exposed, believe it or not. Um, in my background, I've had to deal with my fair share of narcissists at work. I've had to deal with my fair share of narcissists just in life in general. We all will. And it seems like it's increasing. It seems like we have more and more and more every year, every decade, every 5 years. So 10 is a decade. What is five? Half decade? I don't know if there's a real word for it, but we're going to go with that because it just sounds really great. And yeah, it just seems like it's just getting more and more complicated. And there's a couple of reasons for that, in my humble opinion. One of them is this thing right here. This this is as great as technology is, it's also taken away our ability to actually have really good back and forth kind of dialogue. And as much as I like using technology, I also don't like it because we just miss out. We miss out really great, awesome discussions about matters of importance. And what happens is that it tends to like chum up a lot of conflict. It makes things confusing. It creates challenges, and it's just not fun. So that means that honestly, it's like when you're dealing with difficult people, it means that you have to put yourself in the right kind of mindset if you really want to be honest. I actually talk about this in the book, and if you want to find the book, you see the spelling of my last name right, right there. I know how the weatherman feels, right? Neckvatal. It's pronounced Brenda Neckvatal, like bottle. And if you go to Amazon.com and you type that in, if you just even type in Mission Ready, you can actually get a copy of it. And you can read what I put. The construct of the book is actually about building high performing teams. And in my opinion, there's no room for narcissists in a high performing team. Even though narcissists are people, I totally get that. But if you're going to have a highly productive team that's going to be extremely successful, then a lot of these some of these more challenging personalities, you're just going to have to rein in. You're going to have to kind of like get them locked in, locked down, not dealing with them as much. So it makes it kind of interesting. So, but I teach this class on narcissism, and I always get the question, what happens if it's the CEO? And the big answer that I tell people is that, only you can determine if and when you want to no longer be around that person. I can't tell you when to go. I can't tell you anything else other than the facts that you're dealing with somebody who's just afraid of being exposed of something that they're terrified for. And it could be that it's exposing of not being good enough when in fact they probably are. They just don't feel that way. It could be that they hide all their insecurities behind their power, like the supposed power that they have out there. And there's a lot of things that narcissists do for those kinds of things. But it just means, like I said, that you have to get the right kind of mindset in place. And for somebody like me who's a people pleaser, have been my whole life, I got my butt handed to me when it came to dealing with narcissists. I would think that the way into that person's heart and into their mind to get them to be more workable or collaborative or just sometimes even more polite was just to be even nicer. And unfortunately, it's like throwing gasoline on the fire, because all they did is they saw that as an opening for my vulnerability and just sucked me right on in. So yeah, So you have to really first off understand what kind of mindset you need to put in place. And you don't have to be defensive. You don't have to be obstinate. You don't have to be aloof. You just have to set your boundaries. And setting boundaries is a skill that you need to develop. And it's one of those skills, it's not a degradable skill. I mean, it can be, but once you get really good at setting boundaries around difficult people, you're going to find that it's very easy to set boundaries everywhere. And if you're in that type of mindset where setting boundaries just feels like you're being mean, it feels like you're, being snotty, it feels like you're being uncooperative, it feels like you're being difficult. That's not it at all. Setting boundaries is one of the most compassionate, loving things that you can do, just like leading, just like being direct, like being honest. It is one of the greatest expressions of compassion. And the reason is because setting boundaries actually doesn't increase conflict, it actually helps maintain it. Now, just because you set a boundary doesn't mean that somebody's going to like it. And that's where developing the right kind of mindset kicks in. That's why it's so important to actually develop the right kind of mindset. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is that somebody else is going to take over everything and actually start leading the direction of your life, or at least a portion of it, right? And we know what that feels like. Like you may have 98% of your life just dialed in between home, between your social activities. You don't have these issues, but you have that one individual at work, that one person that just takes you and just runs you over. If you don't start setting boundaries around that, what's inevitably going to happen, and I can say this from personal experience, I can say this from actually working with a ton of people on these types of things, is that you are going to now put more emphasis and more thought, and all that stuff is going to live rent free in your head on what that one person is doing. And what's going to happen is it's going to start pushing out all this really great stuff that's going on in your life for something that's temporary. And unless you deal with it, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go anywhere. So, yeah, you got to have the right mindset when it comes to dealing with people. So, I see we got a couple people on here. I'm excited about that. Thank you so much. So I'm going to, my plan and my goal and my intention is to come on here on a fairly regular basis for at least a couple months, right up until probably through the end of the year to, talk about dealing with difficult people and, what it is that we all kind of run into. Right now, my dog is being difficult. He's about ready to take my flip flap from out from underneath the desk. I really don't want her to do that because I kind of need him. No, okay. So he's gonna lay on my feet instead. All right. So if you are on here and if you have a question about dealing with difficult people, do me a favor. Go ahead and put your comment in the down below in the chat. And if you're enjoying this, do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up. And then if you know somebody who's really struggling with this, do me a favor, hit that share button and share this with somebody or on your page of somebody that you know is having a really difficult time. And let's get them the help let's get them some help. So how far do people go with dealing with difficult people? Well, that's a good question. I think the better question is how far can you go with setting your boundaries? And I honestly don't think that you can go far enough sometimes, right? Boundaries are one of those things though, when it's like an expectation, right? You have to set it. And then once you set it, you have to communicate within it. So what does that mean? Well, if you're setting a boundary on something that's appropriate versus inappropriate, which is exactly what a boundary is, then when somebody is about ready to step over that boundary or has tried to step over that boundary or has tried to do something to move the boundary, you have to communicate that. And you have to communicate you have to communicate that not in a positive way, but in an effective way. And honestly, the best way to do that is just being straightforward, right? Non-judgmental, very straightforward, very direct. And there are a lot of people that try and communicate this in a way in which they're trying to inflict their emotions. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're speaking from an emotional place, somebody who is trying to manipulate you, somebody who's a difficult person, somebody who's looking for that weak spot that they can just go in and turn that wrench, or whether they're doing it intentionally or not, they're going to see a crack in the foundation. and they are going to make the attempt to actually get through. So by you just simply coming from a place of being straightforward, being very direct, being honest and upfront, honestly, it is one of the most compassionate things that you can do. Even though it may not feel compassionate, may not sound compassionate, it actually is. Honesty is one of the best forms of compassion that you can have. And honestly, believe it or not, is a form of love. Because if you really love somebody, you're going to be honest with them about stuff. If you don't really love them, you're going to play a different game, right? And I'm not saying you got to run up to the people that you work with and go like, dude, I love you, and just like wrap your arms around them. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just day to day, your fellow man demonstrating respect, even when they don't demonstrate it to you, right? Because the only thing you have at the end of the day is this physical being right here. Oop, I'm gonna knock that right out of the wall. This physical being right here, right? When you lose everything, if you lose everything, hopefully you won't. But at the end of the day, this is all you got. You got your integrity, you've got your character. And if it's not, like, if you were to lose everything, think about that for a second. If you were to lose everything today, like literally it hit the fan, licking the curb, bottom of the barrel, do you really like, are you taking stock? And when you do you like what you see? If you don't, that's, you have a choice right at this very moment to go ahead and make the determination as to whether or not you want to make that character and that level of integrity better every single day. So how far do people actually struggle? Some people can go pretty far. Some people can go pretty far to the point where they're actually massively, massively controlled by people who are difficult. I used to be one of them. That's why I know that. And I used to have, it's like I was just getting it all over. And here's the thing, I have one of my favorite mentors in the world, love this man to death, has this really great saying. And he says, when you look for the evidence for something, it's going to be there. So when you look for the evidence that people like you, you're going to see it. And if you do that right now, just take a second. Start looking for the evidence that you see people like you, and you're going to find it very easily, right? Now, do the opposite. If you're sitting there and you start looking for the evidence that people don't like you, you're going to see it just as well. We're all humans, right? We're all going to have people we are not everybody's cup of tea and shot of whiskey, and that's fine. We're not designed to be that way. But at the same time, which are you going to focus in on, the positive or the negative? And those people who have above average experiences of dealing with people that are on the negative side, they're going to start creating that story that, hey, listen, there's going to be somebody out there that says this and now it must be true. And it's not, right? So again, that's one of the reasons why you have to start building the right kind of mindset, especially around this, because otherwise what's going to happen, the consequences of the behavior is that you're going to get plowed over, and I'm not talking about, like, don't go out and be snarky or nasty or anything like that. I'm just talking in general that some people are just going to take advantage of the fact that you're not being direct, and you don't know what your boundaries are, and you're flexible, and you want to give them another chance. And like, I've done all that. I've absolutely done all that. I've done that in every aspect of life, between dating, between work, personal, friends, family, like everywhere. I've been that person that turned the other cheek and turned the other cheek, gave people another chance only to get disappointed. And yet again, when you start looking for that evidence, you're going to find it. So how do you overcome the pattern? Well, first off, you have to do a lot of self-reflection. Simply put, you have to self-reflect. You have to sit down and start working on yourself. And I started working on myself, like seriously started working on myself, committed nonstop. I started when I was 38. I'm 53 now. So I've been doing it for a while. Periodically, I was working on myself. I started doing that I would say when I was like 22, 21. And I started, one of the very first things that I remember changing the behavior. Do you remember that show? Some of you may know it, some of you may not. But it was a radio talk show with Dr. Laura Schlesinger. And she used to say that when you behave your way into a situation, you have to behave your way out of it. So when you're engaging with somebody who's a difficult person, whether you like it or not, you're behaving your way into a situation, which means that you're going to have to behave your way out of it. Or in this case, you have to behave your way through it. And that was a big one. I always liked that. And so I started to learn how to align what my thoughts were and the things that I was doing with this mindset of, you know, are you behaving your way into a situation, which means you have to behave your way out of it. So that was actually pretty cool. That was one of the first things that I did. And then gradually over time, I did a lot more individual development. And when I went back to school and finished my college degree, that's where I got a lot of really good learning. And it's really funny. This is a little side topic, but I have 2 degrees. I have my bachelor's degree and I have my master's degree, my MBA. And I have to tell you that there isn't one moment that I have regretted going through the process of getting a formal education. The people that I hear that say you don't need a college education are the people that don't have one. Now, they're right in some aspects, but there's one aspect that they do not understand, and that is the transformation that you take on when you're in a learning state. So, where are you going with this, Brenda? Go back to school? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you really want to overcome your challenges, and part of your mindset is that you have to continuously put yourself in an active learning state. And when you do that, you're going to grow. And another one of the most awesome things that I live, one of my mentors, he says it's the law of exposure, that once you've been exposed, you can never be unexposed. So there you go. There you are. So today is mindset. I guess it is Monday, isn't it? I usually don't like creating like tags for certain days out of the week, but today happens to be Mindset Monday, everybody. Welcome to it. I don't know if I'm going to do Mindset Monday again, but that was pretty cool. All right, I'm going to check on Instagram here real quick, see if it is absolutely working or not. I think we'll try it on the phone. But again, my name, if you're just joining, if you've never run into me before, my name is Brenda Eckbottle. I am a recovering human resource professional, and I've been playing in the field of helping people deal with their difficult people problems now for quite a while. And it is what I absolutely love doing the most. I get a great deal of joy helping people overcome this particular challenge because it is extremely difficult. And I'm going to start doing some lives and coming on here and helping people out, answering questions, and kind of sharing with you nuggets of gold that can help you deal with your difficult people problems. So I'm going to invite you to go ahead and connect with me. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you a free gift. I love building on value, so I'm going to give you something of value. I've got quite a few people who are super excited about this. They jump in, they've been taking the course, but it is a free course. There's no strings attached or anything. But if you're dealing with somebody who's extremely difficult at work, somebody who absolutely, no matter what it is that you are trying to get through, you're just trying to make a better relationship happen, and all that happens to you is just constantly run into interference, I've got something for you. I'm going to give you in this course 3 scripts that are going to help you cut through the drama so that way you can get to the root of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve faster and more effectively without having to go through the long, exhaustive process of trying to get somebody to row on your boat, so to speak. So connect with me. on my website at yobrenda.com because it's a lot easier to say than my last name. So that's what we're going to do. Go to yobrenda.com. You can go ahead and put your information in. Tell me what you heard in this session today. There's a little blurb for a window for you to do this. Tell me what you heard that absolutely amazed you. And what'll happen is that when you go there, you're going to go ahead and put your information in at yobrenda.com. You're going to fill out that little comment box about what wowed you today. And then you're going to get immediate access to my Impact Scripts course. It is 100% free. It is my gift to you. It is designed to help you work through the challenges of dealing with extremely difficult people. And those 3 scripts that I'm providing for you, I've been using them for years. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I have been up against the biggest personalities, when I thought I was going to crumble underneath the weight of it, I pulled these out and I used them, and I wasn't able to make it all rainbows and sunshine, but what I was able to do is I was able to get the information, the accurate information or the correct information that I needed in order to keep moving forward. And that is literally half the battle. The other half of the battle is being able to master those individuals, but that's not what we're talking about, right? Right now, we're just here to help you time collapse and cut through the drama so that way you can get to whatever it is that you need to get to. You can get the answers that you need. You can get the information that you need. You can start figuring out what problems are going on. Like, you can get to the root of the problem a lot faster than having to do what you've been doing all along. And if you're tuning in and you're hanging on and you're listening to this, you're probably going, yes, we're going to give this a shot, right? Because it's got to be better than what I've been working on. So yeah, so I want to thank you very much for coming in today. If you have liked this session, please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. And if you know somebody who's dealing with difficult people, by all means, go ahead and share this. It's going to be it's going to be up here. It's going to be posted at any point in time. But absolutely forward this, hit that share button, and share the love and the wealth with other people, because that's what we're here to do, is help one another win and succeed. So thank you again, everybody, for joining. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you. I will be back on tomorrow. Probably, what do I have scheduled for tomorrow? Look for me around 10 a.m. ish, provided that the whole world hasn't fallen apart in my space. But definitely watch for me about 10 a.m. ish, and then I will jump back on and look forward to seeing you guys. Have a good day. I have to figure out how to stop this thing.